Okay, so hello and welcome to my first ever YouTube tutorial. Today we are going to create this, as you can see in the image. I guess you have also seen in the thumbnail. So this is going to be a pretty basic and simple tutorial. It is meant for those users who have just started Photoshop, and I myself have learned Photoshop basically from YouTube. And I wanted that it's time that I give something back to YouTube, and I searched a lot and I saw that back in my days the channels that used to upload good tutorials, they don't upload anymore, and the channels who upload now, they don't actually do voiceover. They add music and they work really fast, so it will be hard for any beginner to follow them. So I thought I would do some tutorials in Photoshop, and in this tutorial we will learn a few things. First is light and shadow matching, how to match the light and shadows of foreground and background, the subject and the background, and then color management also, how to color correct the images and match it, and then a little bit of adding and removing atmospheric stuffs and all. Okay, so let's start. So I have opened my images here. I have these two images. This is my subject here, this girl with a bat. She actually looks like Harley Quinn, no? Yeah, she looks like Harley Quinn. That's why I chose her actually. She looks like Harley Quinn. She looks kind of badass. And here is my background, which is pretty much yellowish and reddish. So I've got my subject and my background, and I want this image to be a little bit bluish, little bit I want her to look a little bit villainy style. She looks like villain, something like that, whatever. So a little bit bluish, little bit dangerous looking, ominous looking. First and foremost thing that I will do is I will remove the background from the subject, and you can use a lot of tools to do that. A lot of people use pen tool actually, and pen tool according to me is the best tool for removing backgrounds. But if you are if you are in a hurry and you have to do it fast, you can use this quick selection tool. I basically use quick selection tool every time, but quick selection tool has a lot of problems. It doesn't do stuff cleanly. So let's just remove the background. This won't be pretty tough, I guess, because the background is pretty much white, and if you have a solid color background, then it's easy to remove. We'll just select a rough selection. Actually, you take your time to do it properly. You can use pen tool also. I'm not using pen tool. I'll be using quick selection tool, and I will show you how to do cleanly, how to remove the background cleanly with quick selection tool, because a lot of people say that with quick selection tool you cannot remove background cleanly. And this is my first video, so there will be a lot of mistakes. Forgive me for that. Just bear with me and watch it till the end. If you like, if you feel that this video is interesting, watch it till the end. So we will subtract the areas that we don't need, and we will add the areas that we need. That is the main thing. If you don't know about quick selection tool and you are totally beginner in Photoshop, this is how we do it. We take this add option and add the areas we need, and if we don't need any area like this area, we will just subtract this area. Okay, this looks pretty much good. Not totally good though, but then we will click here in select and mask option. Sorry, wait, let me just remove this background image. Yeah, select and mask option. So I'm using a Wacom tablet, that's why this virtual keyboard is popping up time and again. So here you can see this is not totally neat and clean, but still let me refine this a little bit. So we'll check this smart radius option and increase the radius, make the edges a little bit smooth. You can shift the edges a little bit inside Like sometimes when you do it quick selection tool, you get the backgrounds a little bit. Here it's fine actually. Now we need these hair strands here. What we will do is we will select this option here, increase the brush size a little bit, sorry for that, and we will just try to add the strands of hair. Now if you are using Photoshop CC 2017 or 2018 version, it will be a little bit tougher to get these hairs. If you are using CS6, it's really amazing in CS6. So let me see, select and mask. I want these hair strands. Oops, this will keep popping up again and again, I'm sorry for that. And hit OK. Okay, we have got the hair strands, we have got everything properly, and just after you select everything, just click this mask option here, and bam, we have got our subject and knocked out the background. If you can see these two pictures, obviously they don't match. Okay, this my subject is too bright, my background isn't that much bright, my background is a lot darker, also it has a lot of yellow in it, a lot of red in it. My subject is fairly bright and it hasn't got any color influence on it. So let me click this eye option and hide my subject. I want to color correct my background first. For that I will use the curves adjustment layer. So now how to color correct images? See, you will have to first notice which color is too much in this image, and I can notice red and yellow. Okay, so from this RGB we'll select red. This is the shadow area. If we decrease the shadow area, it will turn into green. If we increase, the shadows will turn into red. Okay, this is the highlight area. If we increase it, the highlights will turn into red. If we decrease it, the highlights will turn into green. And this is the mid-tone area. We will work with this mid-tone area. We want the mid-tones to be not red. So we decrease the red from the mid-tone, and now it's a little bit green, as you can see, and there is yellow too. So the opposite color of yellow is blue. So if we increase blue, yellow will be decreased. So we will just increase blue a little bit, that you can see now yellow is decreased. Now I want this to be a little bit bluish. Okay, so let me keep it right there. I want this to be a little bit bluish, so I want the shadows to be bluish. Now here is a basic theory. Shadows are cool, so shadows can be blue, and highlights are warm, so highlights should be a little bit yellowish or red. So in this shadow area I will increase the blue just a little bit, not too much. The highlights area I will decrease blue. So you can see the shadows are bluish now. With the red in the shadow area I will decrease the red, not too much again, and in the highlights area I will increase the red. Okay, so we have got this kind of color correction. This is not actually totally color correction, because as you can see in the highlights there are red and the shadow blue. I wanted to be like this. I wanted the image to be like this, so I color corrected like this. If you want it to be something else, you can color correct it like that only, but this is the process with curves adjustment. You can do anything with this adjustment layer. Now you can see the changes here. Okay, so it's done. Now let's prepare my subject to match with the background. So to do that, the first thing I need to do is I need to my subject has too much highlights on it. I need to remove the highlights, so just go to image adjustment, select the subject layer first, then image adjustment and shadows and highlights. So I've got here now the highlights. I will try to remove the highlights. Try experimenting with this. Okay, now every image is different and you have to keep experimenting. Okay, you just cannot type these numbers when you have to keep experimenting with this. try to remove the highlights and try to make the shadows a bit more darker because the background is darker. Okay, now if you are using the CC version of Photoshop, you will have this amazing filter called camera raw filter. Now I use this a lot. If you aren't using CC, then you have to do it with shadows and highlights only, but if you are using CC, you will get this camera raw filter. Here you have this highlights option. You can decrease it. Don't decrease it too much, it will be dark. But if when you decrease the highlight, it will also make this image a little bit dull, so increase the clarity a little bit. Okay, it's done, and hit OK. Now first thing in compositing is that you need to match the black and the white points. You need to see here that this point, you need to actually find the blackest point of this background. The blackest point of this background can be this or this or this, and the brightest point, which is this something like that. This not this actually here. So we need to match the blackest point of our subject with the background, so we will just do it with levels adjustment. Now if you are using levels for the first time, here's how you do it. If you slide this, it will become lighter. Slide this, it will become darker. Here you will also have RGB values. You also have, and this is how you make dark, light, and this is the midtones. I want my midtones to be a little bit dark. Okay, just the shadows a bit, and it's done. Okay, so it's done, but here you can see again this image is too much reddish. Okay, and my background is not that much red. It has a lot of blue in it, so we'll use another curves adjustment layer to take out the red. Just to make it a little bit cool. The highlights can be red though, but not the midtones. The blue, just okay. We'll hit a little bit of blue here in the shadows too. Not much in the highlights. Here we go. And now we can see this is what we have done. Just go in the shadows once again, the RGB section, make it a little bit dark, the red channel here, okay, that's how I've done. Now it's cool. So as you can see, this image is too much saturated. My subject actually is too much saturated, so I will desaturate a bit. Even saturation and desaturate. As you can see, the background doesn't have too much colors, but my subject, it has a lot of colors, so I will desaturate my subject, and it kind of matches with the background currently. So we will be adding shadows here. Actually it is totally you need to clip mask this. You hit left click and then create clipping mask. Now, if you create clip mask, what it will do, this layer will only affect to the background. That's why I have clipped mask everything here. These adjustment layers will only affect to the layer that you are applying, not background, sorry, to the layer that you are applying. I wanted these adjustment layers to apply only to my subject, not to my background. That's why. Okay, so if I remove the clip mask option, release clipping mask, this is how it will look. Too much blue, but I don't want. I want all this to be applied only on my subject and not on my background. Okay, so now let's create the shadows. For shadows, I will just duplicate this, and we have this. Now you can click on the mask option, then left click and then apply layer mask, hit control, sorry not control D. Okay, so you can just edit, go to edit and then transform, then scale. Okay, then go left click and then flip vertical, hit enter, and there you've got a duplicate. Now I will put this here for the shadow. I will zoom out a little bit, hit Ctrl T to, and then zoom out a little bit more. Then I will left click and then go to perspective and then hit shift and alt and drag one corner just like that. You will get a nice perspective. Now when we are applying shadows, make sure you do it according to the source of the light. Now here the source of the light is from this side and this side is dark. Okay, so my shadow will be this side. As you can see, this is the, whatever this is kind of vehicle, the shadow is on this side, so that's why the shadow will be this side. Here too, the shadows are all on this side, so make sure you match that. Let me zoom in again. Control 0 to get the full size of your canvas. Now I will hit control, hold control and click on the thumbnail just like that. I will make sure the foreground color is black and hit Ctrl plus backspace. Sorry for that. Ctrl plus backspace and then hit Ctrl D. And that's how we do it. Hit Ctrl D and then we will do. Now this shadow is too much dark and you can see the edges are too harsh also. So the basic thing that we are going to do is like make the edges softer, and yeah, that's right, make the edges softer. So we'll select this shadow layer, go to filter, blur and then Gaussian blur. Okay, now you can see the shadows have become soft, but it's too much soft currently, so we'll just reduce the Gaussian blur, increase, just make sure make it soft, make the edges soft. If you use blur, the edges will be softer. That's it. Hit OK and change the blending mode to multiply. That's it. Now we need to add shadows and highlight to our subject too according to the light. Okay, now our subject was lit from the front actually. If you have seen, I don't know if you have seen or not. And this here in this image, our subject, I need my subject to be lit from this side. So there is a technique to use this, and that technique is dodge and burn technique. Now dodge and burn technique is very powerful and you need to practice it, because most of the time when you are a beginner you will either overdo it. Actually yes, you will overdo it only. Okay, you will not do less, you will overdo it, and if you overdo it your entire image will look horrible. So let me show you how to do it. First you take a new layer and make sure you I've clip masked this layer to my subject because it will be easy. So I took a new layer and then go to edit, fill, and from this drop down menu select 50% gray. Hit OK. It will look like this, and it looks weird, but don't worry, we'll do it. We'll go to the blending mode. Make sure you select this 50% gray layer, go to the blending mode and set the blending mode to either multiply or overlay. I'm going to select it to overlay, and here you will get the dodge and burn tool. Okay, so this is burn tool, this hand symbol, this dodge tool. What the dodge tool does is it actually makes parts brighter. Now you have got some options here. You have shadows, you can select to midtones or highlights. If you select highlights, it will only affect the highlights. and exposure, I will keep this to 19, 20, 21. Okay, fine. Now just use it gently. What it will do is it will make the highlights pop out a little more, and make sure you just don't overuse this. Okay, and the highlights will be, and you can see the difference. See the highlights. Now you select the burn tool, and you have same options here: midtones, shadows, highlights. I will select the shadows. I want the shadows to pop out now, so I will just use it slowly on the shadows. And once again, make sure you don't overdo it. Okay, this looks cool. And here it will just make your detail pop out, like these creases of the skirt and stuff like that. Okay, now you can see the difference. Sorry. So this is how it will look. Now, okay, so it's looking good, but now I want the background is too much visible here. I mean, when any viewer will look at this image, his or her eyes will travel to the background too, because there are a lot of objects in the background, but I want everybody's eyes to stuck on my subject. So what I will do is I will reduce the details from the background. Now I won't remove any object, I will just do some changes. The first change that I want to do is, let me just hide my subject. The first change I want to do is I will give kind of foggy or smoky atmosphere. You know, in some old warehouse or in some old streets, you get some places where there are fog or smoke. Okay, so I will give some fog or smoke here. So I will just take a new layer above my background layer, name this to fog. It doesn't really matter, you can name this to anything, and take my polygonal lasso tool. So there are quite of lasso tools, main lasso tools actually. I will take the polygonal one and try to roughly select an area where I want my fog or smoke to take place. Of course, the truck is in the foreground like my subject, so I don't want it to go over my truck. This pillar here, there we go. And okay, I have selected a rough area. Then select the new layer where you want your fog or smoke to be, and after that take a brush. I have these mist brushes here. I will give the download link in the description so that you can download it too. Increase the size, take a gray bluish type color and hit it just like that. Yeah, it's fine actually here. I can hit one more time. Okay, so now hit Ctrl D to remove this selection, Ctrl plus D. Now as you can see, there are some hard edges which actually looks pretty unnatural. Okay, so just select this, hit this mask option. Now what is a mask? If you are new to Photoshop, if you have selected mask option, take the brush, take a soft brush. Let me choose a soft brush. Okay, let me decrease the size. If you are new to masks, what mask does is, if your foreground color is black and background is white, and select the mask option and then you just go through this, it will delete the object. It will not permanently delete, it will hide. If you want to get this stuff back, just make the foreground color white. Make sure you have selected the mask option, not the layer option, the mask option. Then you just brush it over and you will get it back, just like that. Okay, so this is cool. Now with this mask option, what I want is to make this edges softer. So I will hit this mask option, I will select this mask option, make sure my foreground color is black, make the brush smaller, and then just slowly brush over the edges, and it will make it softer very slowly, just like that. Okay, now this fog is too much, this fog or smoke, whatever, it's too much, so I will decrease the opacity so that it looks more natural. Okay, but now still there are a lot of details here. Okay, so what I will do is I will give a focus effect, or what is not focus effect, what is it, it is called is depth of field. Yes, so what I will give is a fake depth of field. Now you have a lot of options here, filter, blur gallery, you can use this for depth of field. What generally I do when the image is straightforward like this, simple like this, what I do is I take a copy of my background, Control J, hit Control J for copy, then I will hide the top one, select the bottom one, go to filter, blur, and this is Gaussian blur, and just this much blurriness is fine, I guess, for depth of field. Yeah, it's fine. Hit OK. Now as you can see, the entire background is blurred, and we don't want that. We want a depth of field. We want the end portion of my background to be blurred. So I will bring my top copy again, select this, hit the mask option. Same thing with this foreground color black selected, I will take the gradient tool, make sure your gradient is like this. Okay, this one, not this one, black to white, black to nothing. Okay, and it is linear, not radial or something else, linear. Foreground color is black. Make sure you select the mask option and then just pull it down, and as you can see, my background is now blurry. Cool. It's a cool effect, a cool technique actually, you can try it. Okay, but we have a problem here. That problem is this wall, it's in the foreground, it's also blurred. This vehicle, it's in the foreground, but the top portion is also blurred. What we will do is we'll select the mask again, take a soft brush, make sure foreground color is white, not black. Okay, now with white, what we will do is we will bring back the original layer. So okay, select the mask, make sure the foreground color is white, and when we brush it over, we are getting back the original background that is not blurred. Okay, so this is cool. Now if you didn't understand this, let me tell you one again. We have got two backgrounds here. One this background which has Gaussian blur, and one without Gaussian blur, and we actually hid the parts of this without Gaussian blur background. Let's rename this to BG not blurred, something like that. Okay, so we have hid the parts of the BG not blurred with the mask. So if we remove this is how it looks. If I remove the Gaussian blurred background, if I put it on, this is how it will look. Okay, so if you want to hide it, just use black color If you want to reveal it, just use white color. That's it. So I want the foreground part of this background to be detailed, so I have revealed this part with white color. And I want the background of this part to be blurred, so I have used black color. It was hidden, and beneath this layer I have this background layer that is blurred, so it's blurred here. Okay, hope you had understood that. Now what else is left? Okay, now the image is looking good here. Okay, everything is fine, the shadow is fine, highlight fine, we have got smoke, a little bit of smoke here, but we want it to be a little bit popped out. So what we will do is we will take a layer on top of this, make it multiply, take a color like this, take the gradient layer, zoom out a little bit. Oops, okay, yeah, zoom out, take the gradient and just like that. We'll make this portion dark because we don't want our viewers to see this portion, we want our viewers to see only this portion. Kind of a vignette, but only from one side. We'll take another layer, put this overlay, take a color of the light from here, something like that, and we will just bring it back like that. Yes, so this part is highlighted, this part is dark. I think it's too much, so just reduce the opacity of the highlighted area. This actually makes the entire image pop out a lot more, which is amazing. And now for the end part, take a new layer, take brush. You can just add this, or you can remove this, whatever you wish. We'll just use a little bit of particles. You know, when you go to an old place, there are a lot of flying particles which you can see actually in the light. So in these highlighted parts, we'll use a little bit of particles, and they are floating. So reduce the opacity a bit, give it a little bit of motion blur. And it's done. So hope you enjoyed my first ever tutorial and you liked it. Comment down if you didn't understand anything, and make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you share the video, and that's it. And comment down what you want for the next tutorial. I'll be making tutorial every Monday, so yeah, make some